Hey everyone, Julian here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a full modern trance techno track, X Club, skin on skin, that style. As usual, you can get the full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, everything like that from this video is available at the top of the description on my website. The full track template you can go ahead and grab right there. Definitely grab this. It's a really great way to support making the best music of your life. I promise if you grab this template, it'll really help you anywhere you've been struggling or if you just need some new inspiration. It's a really great thing to get. Go ahead and grab that, make the best tracks of your life, and let's dive in. Alright, so we're at 150 BPM. First thing we got up here is gonna be the sidechain. So just a little click, right? And then we have the kick. So kick is made using two 909 layers. We got the main 909 kick, just like a nice fat one. You can see I'm cutting it at 46 hertz. Because you really don't want too much like sub in your kick in this style, I found. And we're also converting it to mono. And then what I'm doing is I'm layering that with a 909 rim shot. That's pretty quiet and high pass, but you can hear it just gives you that little click over top of it. So it goes from this to this. And this is actually a great tip if you want to get more punch out of your kicks. It can really help that punch through. Then we have the bass line. So this is a simple chord progression. We're in the key of G sharp minor, so we're going G sharp minor, E major, right? That very like. Then B major, C sharp minor, B major again, right? So root note, sixth, minor third, fourth, minor third again. Pretty simple, just like poppy progression. It kind of holds that whole like chord structure together for the track. Now for the sound on this one, it's made with operator. Operator is really good for these basses for one reason. If you look down here, this where it says phase, see the R? That stands for re-trigger, which basically means every single time you hit a note, the phase is going to be in the same place. So if I have that set like that, see how I hit a bunch of different notes and they're all pretty like much the same sound? Now check out if I turn off the re-trigger. See how it's like a little bit different and uneven every time? So when you're making these trance basses, you want it to actually, you need a synth where you can do the phase reset. Like Serum is really good for that too. And not have it be random phase, but have it at the same part, at the same, every time. Because it's one of those subtle things that's really going to make your bass sound a lot more professional. This one is just a saw wave and a square wave layered together. There's no FM happening. And then there's a low pass filter with a little bit of an envelope. We're cutting the lows at 40 hertz. So really just cleaning it up and making it so it's not going to be too rumbly. Side chaining that so that it still kind of bounces up from the kick. Mono, and then we're cutting at 100 hertz to kind of like, it was a little bit muddy when I was mastering it. So that just kind of made some room for the kick. Then we have the drums. So these main drums, we just have like a nice open 909. It's mainly just getting that at the right place in the mix and getting a really good 909 sample. Like if you have that too quiet, the groove isn't going to work. See what I mean? And it could be a great track, but if that hi-hat is a little bit too quiet, it's just not going to work. So you got to get it right up there with the kick. And then the clap, same deal. Just a nice punchy 909 style clap. There's really just a lot of drum machine sounds. There's not even any processing on those. We have the ride, which is just being sidechained a little bit to kind of make it groove better. If I turn off the sidechain, see, it kind of makes that sit better. We have this percussion. So it starts here. We have a little shaker. I have this operator percussion I made. So it's playing this pattern. Right, just kind of like moving around, you can see. So yeah, it's literally just white noise instead of operator. and then a bandpass filter with a hard shaper to make it a bit more punchy. And then we're moving the filter frequency around, sample and hold, so it's random LFO basically. Overdrive, a bit of this spectral time, which you can see adds like a cool background percussion. Filter delay. So that's where it really gets like filled out, right? High passing it, because if we turn that off, it definitely has like a bit of low end that you don't want. And then we're actually using this auto pin to make it kind of bounce off the kick. Then we just have an 808 core kit. Right, you can see just a little bit of percussion happening from that. Again, just more drum machine sounds. Then we have these two. If I play them with the main drums, you can really hear. Right, it's kind of like some background group. It's just these two little open hi-hats and then a bunch of reverb. But they just sit really nicely. And then we have that whole percussion group sidechain. And this is part of why I like having that on its own. Because you can sidechain all this stuff that you want to kind of like fit underneath your kick, right? But then still have these right up front. So that would be all the drums and the bass. And when you're making a track like this, I always start with those, right? Like really get those right. Get the arrangement right with those elements. And then you can do all this other stuff I'm about to show you. Starting with this pad. You see what's happening here is this is basically playing its own chord progression, right? We're going D sharp, B, G sharp. It's like this kind of like minor sounding thing. But you can see that goes really nicely over top of the bass line, right? So this is like not the main chord progression, but it's kind of like a chord progression created using just a bunch of notes that are in that same G sharp minor scale that we're in with the bass line. And it creates its own thing here, right? And this isn't hard to do. It can seem kind of complex when you don't really know what you're doing with the music theory. But again, if you get your chord progression nailed down, and then even if you don't know where every note is in the scale, you know, you can just look up the scale, and as long as you follow notes in that, you really can't go wrong if you just kind of feel it out and make them build into each other. For the sound, it's made with wavetable. It's actually just a square wave. We have a low pass filter, which you can see is moving a lot throughout the track. So that's what makes this work, right? It's never really in the same place twice. There's with the filter all the way up. We have unison where it's on, but the amount's at 0. So if I turn that off, you can see it adds something when you bring it back in, but it's just not that much unison. And then the amp envelope is like that. We have a bit of echo. Each ear is at a different time, so you kind of get a bigger stereo field. We have a bit of reverb, and then we're side chaining this. Then we have the main lead. So this is kind of working around the 5th as well. Right, because again, we're in the key of G sharp minor. So this actually starts on the 5th here. This D sharp. But you can see it goes very well when we have that, and then we kind of walk up to that tonic. Right, it's like we walk up and then we get that 6th down there. And then here, this, that's the 5th and the 6th. So then what's happening there is the bass line's actually playing that 6th. So when you have this against the bass line, that's like a major 7th chord. Right, so it's all these little interactions combined with like a pretty simple, just catchy melody. But the actual sound is made with 2 layers of wavetable. That one. And that one. So what we're doing here is we get this beating. And then a saw wave. We have we have an envelope on the filter frequency. And then the oscillator position of the first oscillator, as well as the pulse width of this second saw wave here. And then just a bunch of shimmer unison. And then this layer, it's just a sine wave with a pretty short envelope, and then filter envelope, and then noise unison. And that just adds like if I turn it off, It sounds a lot thinner in the whole mix. And then bring it back in. It's like that subtle thing that really makes it work. And then we have a bit of echo and reverb. There's some automation on the echo here just to make it kind of disappear. Same thing going into the drop. We have a low pass filter which brings us in and out. And then we're side chaining it, and then a high pass. Then we have this art. So this is actually following the same progression as the bass line. If you look at this, it's the same thing. It's the root note, the sixth, the minor third, the fourth, then the minor third again. And then we're just creating an arp around it, mostly using octaves. Like you can see, that's an octave, that's an octave, that's an octave. And then fifths as well, and then minor thirds. Like, it's pretty simple to make if you look at it from that perspective. And if you listen with the bass line, right, so for this we've got a saw wave with a low pass filter, and then this shimmer unison with, yeah, a bit of an envelope on the filter frequency. We have some delay, a low pass filter which makes it kind of come in and out and makes it disappear at the end. High pass filter which also has some automation there kind of to make it come in without having like so much low end right away, right? And then we have a side chain. And then the last synth we have here is this second arp. So this is like this crazy kind of arp. This is basically just like playing around with different notes in this G sharp minor scale. Like you can see root note and fifth, minor seventh, root note, ninth, minor third, fourth, fifth, like very basic stuff, just creating this kind of like dance with that essentially. If we turn off the delay and stuff, it's like that, right? So it's basically just like this analog patch. I'll turn off all the effects and you can hear what it just sounds like completely clean. So it's just a saw wave with a low pass with an envelope on it and then a bit of automation on that, especially in the intro. Vibrato and unison. Then we have a grain delay, which kind of like obscures it, and then more regular delay. A little bit of drum bus being blended in there, some reverb. Sidechain, low pass to really like bring it in and out, and then a high pass filter. And yeah, then we just have a little snare roll, which just comes in a few different parts. It's really simple. It's literally just 16th note snares with some automation. We also have this crash. Just classic 909 crash cymbal. And then we have the vocal too. Now the vocals really simple. A lot of people ask about how to get the vocals right for this. And what I really want to show you is like, it's just 3 effects. It's just echo, like a long echo like this, quarter notes. You know, an EQ to shape it a bit and make it not get in the way of everything and kind of make it what you want. And then sidechain. You really don't need much else. It's really better to try to find something with a lot of flavor to it already. Like that already has so much character. And then we can just bring that in a little bit and kind of like work with that texture rather than taking something completely dry and then wondering why you can't really get it to sound cool. And it's also like what the vocals are actually doing, right? That goes really well over this chord progression. And then we just let it breathe like that. So yeah, it's not really that hard to do the vocals. Really, the most time you should spend is finding a good sample rather than trying to process it. And yeah, so that's going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. And let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full project file, samples, MIDI, presets. The entire template is available at the top of the description on my website. Again, this is something great you can do right now to make the best tracks of your life. This is an awesome template. You know, I really haven't seen another template for this style on the market, and definitely not at this quality. So go ahead and grab this, help support me, and also really help support yourself, making the best tracks of your life. Thank you so much for the support, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video.